Let the record show that all board members are present. And we're going to start right off with the, anybody have any board member comments or anything they want to report out from committees that we belong to?
I don't have a superintendent's report, but I did want to point out that at our last meeting, the board approved the commitment to civility, which is our effort to make sure that all of our adult interactions are models for our students as we go forward. And there's a poster that's now up at our board meeting. It's a little hard to read from over here. And then those posters are also out in our schools as well. We work with them. So I want to thank the board for their approval of that.
And that's in regards to the word I couldn't pronounce. Special recognition.
Yes, thank you, board. We wanted to take a minute tonight and just reflect on the work that's been done. We're talking about a potential another bond measure, but back in 2016, this school board and district went forward to pass Measure B, which was a transformational effort within our district. It brought us Montagnez Elementary. It brought us playgrounds and drinking fountains and safe and improved facilities at all of our campuses. And there's been a lot of people that have had a really big role in that. But one of the best decisions that we made in going after that bond was to hire then what a firm was RGM, specifically led by John Navarro at that point. John Navarro was a student in our district. He was actually a student of Isaac Montagnez, what made it all the more special that he was leading the construction of that school site that was named in his honor. And I think that what's been incredible for us as a school district is to have somebody like John, who's been in our district as working for a different company, but really working like a citizen that was here. He worked and spent every dollar like it was his own. We had somebody that was on our side as we went through every endeavor going forward, and the community should be forever grateful for the work that he's done in our district and the legacy that he's left in Measure B. And I know Diane wanted to say a few things as well.
Can John sit up here?
Yeah, sure. Come on up, John.
I'm talking to somebody in the back there. I want to see him cry too.
Okay. He doesn't know that we were doing this.
Okay.
John, I just want to say that you are really a true leader and innovator in school construction and school planning. And you just have so much technical expertise as well, and your years of experience, as Dana spoke to, I mean, really go above and beyond, and it's appreciated in so many ways. I started working with you in another district 12 years ago, so I've seen, I've worked with you a long time. And I really want to say that your contributions to our schools, to our students, and our community are really, as Dana said, I think too numerous to count. And I want you to know I'll really miss you and working with you, not only because of your expertise, but really it's like your thoughtfulness and your sort of and your steady guidance for our district and for my position. And I just want to congratulate you on a well-deserved and really, I'm sure, fulfilling retirement. So thank you very much from our district and from you.
We should have told you, John. That way you could have brought your family and they could hear what a great guy he is.
Judy's here, so.
Yeah, I'd like to add too, I had the pleasure just a couple of years back of being John's elementary teacher. And knew his mother well, who was really involved in the community and a school board member with the high school district. And knew Toby, his stepdad, who helped raise him. And I know the community kind of feeling that he was brought up with. and his brothers, his two brothers as well. And it's carried over to see you mature and come and help the district, and you bring that same kind of loving spirit and protection of our district that has really served us beautifully. And I thank you personally and as a board member as well.
John, we could never thank you enough for all that you've done for our district and for our community and for our kids. But we did try. We have a little small plaque for you that we'd like to share, and Mr. Gursky's going to share just a couple more things.
Oh yeah, John, I appreciate so much getting to know you as a board member over the last years. We share some similar background, as Emil was my teacher as well, and I was one of Montanez's students. And when I came onto this position, I knew nothing about school construction and site visits and all of that kind of thing, and I know just a tiny bit more now, and most of that's because of you. I've really enjoyed learning from you and going through the experience of building a school with you. It was amazing. You made it very simple for all of us, and it was just a pleasure to work with you. So thank you for all you've done for us. And I think we've got...
With that being said, we have a plaque for you, and we'd like to present it to you and take a group picture. And you're more than welcome to come up and join us for the picture.
Come on, Judy.
It'll look like you're on a cruise. We need the two of you guys.
All right, well.
Again, well, thank you so much. Basically, it says appreciation award presented to John DeMiro. This is your appreciation for your outstanding service to the Brentwood Union School District. Thank you for doing that. Thank you very much. I really appreciate it.
Okay, come up here. You guys get in the middle. Yeah, Judy in the middle.
Part of the deal.
All right.
We didn't. Judy was here all the time too. So.
This way? Yep, there we go. Now we got it. All right. Give a little bit of it. And we got it. 1, 2, 3. And then, do you want to get a picture with your two folks over here too?
Sure.
Primo and
Sean.
All right. 1, 2, 3. Perfect.
Thank you.
Do it like a soccer. Thank you.
Go!
We can bring back.
Yeah.
Well, that was a nice way to start.
That it was.
At this point, I'll take a motion to open public comment.
I move that we open public comment.
Second, please. Motion and second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Does anybody have any yellow slips? Yellow
Move that we
slips.
close public comment.
Second.
Been moved and seconded. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Very nice. Public comment is officially closed. Consent items 8.0 to 8.11. Anybody want to pull anything from the consent
I'd like
items?
to quickly just make a comment on item 8.7, the approval agreement of all city managements in Inc. for crossing guard services. First of all, I think our crossing guards do a marvelous job, and I'm very pleased with the quality that we have. My only concern on that has always been, we're one community here in Brentwood. Brentwood represents all of the kids and adults in the community. And I wish that the city and whatever other groups would participate. When I read the amount of $370 some odd thousand that we pay for crossing guards, I'm not bitter about the payment. I'm bitter about not sharing the payment, because it's for the safety of our children coming and going to school. It's part of the police program. It's part of a very integral part of our community. So I just wanted to make that comment.
Well said.
And along the same line, like Emil said, they're not just Brentwood Union School District people that we're trying to keep safe. It's the whole community. You know, the parents walk their kids with the bikes and stuff, and even more so now with the electric scooters and everything else that's getting out of hand. And just for people that don't realize the cost to us, the district here, is roughly $377,000 plus. So it's not a small amount like you would think. It's a very large amount, but in the scale of things, like we've said, they're not just our people or our students. They're part of our city, and it would be nice if there's some kind of an agreement that could be worked out. We brought this up, I think it was about a year and a half ago. It didn't really get any traction. Somebody was assigned to look into it, and that person retired shortly thereafter, and it kind of just fizzled. So it is something that I'd like to have maybe Emil and I or all of us work together with the city, and maybe we can come to some kind of agreement. You know, maybe a tenth of the Costco tax dollars can go for our crossing guards or something. So that being said, I will take a motion.
I'll move that we approve items for consent items number 8 through 811.
Second.
All those in favor of approving consent items 8.0 through 8.11?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? 5-0.
Mr. President, I forgot under 7.0 to make a statement that we did receive one written public comment, and that will go in the record. It'll be posted online, and that was distributed to the board. So sorry about that.
I appreciate that. That was an oversight on my part. Was told 4 times today to make sure I didn't forget that. So, and I did. Hearings and appeals, 9.0. Anybody want to close the public hearing? I'll take a motion.
This was one that was opened at the last meeting.
Move that we close item 9.0 and close the public hearing on the Vista Higher Learning.
I'll second it.
Moved and seconded. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? 5-0. Approved. 9.1, this is an open and a closed public hearing. I'll take a motion.
Move that we open 9.1, the public hearing on the BUSD initial contact reopener proposal with BTA.
I'll second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? I'll take another motion to close it now.
Move that we close the same 9.1.
Second.
Moved and seconded. All those in favor of closing public hearing?
Aye.
Aye.
Very good.
I will note in the record that there were no public comments for that.
Thank you. Thank you.
This is an action item that was discussed in closed session. I'll take a vote on a expulsion of student 05-2026-20. I'll take a motion.
Item 10.1, that we accept the recommendation of the expulsion for student 05-2026-20.
I'll second that motion.
Moved and seconded. All those in favor of approving the expulsion of student 05-2026-20?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? 5-0 passes expulsion. 10.2, expulsion of student 05-2026-21. I'll take a motion in a second.
Move that we approve the recommended expulsion of student 05-2026-21.
I'll take a second.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Again, 5-0, expulsion of student 05-2026-21 has been approved. 10.3, this is an information item, review of school bond tracking survey results.
Yes, we have John Isom with us tonight. Come on up, John. And we've seen John before from ISOM Advisors, and he previously did a survey for us for a potential bond measure following the success and failure of different bonds in June. We asked them to update the poll, and so John's here to share those results with you. So thank you, John.
Great to be here. Good to see you again. One other thing that kind of happened during the last few months was this Iran issue, and really that the potential change of viewpoints among voters as it relates to cost of living, prices of gas, et cetera, et cetera. So in consultation with the district, we say, you can do a tracking poll. It's not as long as a survey. It's not as expensive as a survey, but it can be something that we were able to track and see if attitudes have changed enough that you say, you know what, maybe we shouldn't go forward with this. So this evening, I'm pleased to present you with those results. I'm going to take you through it. It's pretty quick, but it follows, again, a similar approach as last time, and many of the questions are identical. Again, that's what we're trying to do is track them. So by way of methodology, again, of your 47,000 registered voters, we typically try to get between 300 and 400 folks to participate. We got 311 people to participate here, and it took about 8-9 days to collect all of the data, ask all the questions. And the goal for you really is go or no go. Right? Is this something that we want to put on the November 2026 ballot? If it's no, then we reset to 2028. If it's yes, then we want to feel like we've got a shot, and so that's what this is intended to do. So some of these general questions, we start out, again, city of Brentwood, heading in the right direction or in the wrong direction. And, 5-1, people like Brentwood, right? They think that it's heading in the right direction. How would you rate the quality of education provided in the Brentwood School District? And excellent, 19%, only 6% poor. The rest kind of fall in this fair and good. What we're looking for, as the consultant is, are there some outliers? Is there something that gives us pause? Is there something that's changed dramatically? And throughout, I'll make notations where there has been some changes. But I'm going to, like I said, just kind of take you through each of these questions. How would you rate the condition of the classrooms and school facilities? Most people think they're excellent or good. In fact, that's a testament to how well you've maintained them, how well the curb appeal comes across to voters. Notice in green, only 2% think the schools are poor, right? Double-edged sword. Good news, bad news. Good news, people think you got good schools. Bad news is they think you have good schools and may not need money. But those are things that you have to overcome typically in a campaign. We also said, hey, let's rate a number of things of the district. This was, if you remember, we talked about kind of likability. If they like me, they'll support me. So we asked these questions, and these were rotated, but we put them in order of greatest levels of support to least levels of support, but also you can follow the gray. There's also the least levels of knowledge, right? The biggest don't knows are among school boards and the superintendent and the district's job managing finances. Again, I'll point out the green. Those are the areas that cause us pause. We don't see any areas where you have a lot of negativity. Overall, there tends to be a little less support on almost all of these questions. So rather than go through and say we're 5% lower here and 6% and 3%, overall there was just a more, for lack of a better term, gloomier mood on the attitudes. But objectively, and just looking at it simply through the lens of, do they like me? Do they think we have needs, et cetera, we haven't seen any information to get to the contrary of that. Because the state continues to underfund classrooms, we need to do more as a district, and people still agree with that concept, right? They know that the state holds the purse strings. They also know that the state doesn't give schools enough money. Another question, kind of an ideological, I would never vote for a tax increase no matter what it would be used for. Only a third of your voters agreed with that, right? Nobody likes taxes. I think pragmatically people say there's good taxes and bad taxes, and I like to have a say in it. But a third of your voters said, under any circumstances, I would vote no, but 61 disagreed.
Is that similar to the first?
Yeah, that actually tracked pretty similarly. Do you have any children or grandchildren who are now attending the schools in the Brentwood School District? And if you remember from prior conversations, we always have all of the demographic information from the voter file. We know political party, we know age, we know ethnicity, we know gender, we know homeowner, renter. What we don't know is, hey, are you connected to the schools in some way, shape, or form? So we ask the question, point blank, ask them. In this case, you see 27, 14, and 59% respectively. Here is a piece that actually skewed a little bit more to no contact with the school district, which I think is interesting. Because at the last time that we shared this information, and as we kind of talked through it, the last survey was about 51% had no contact or connection to the school district. So for better or for worse, you probably have people that are less familiar with the district, less familiar with the needs. They may skew slightly older, right, in the case of folks that don't have kids. But nonetheless, this is all, again, valuable data. But this was one of the outliers that we said, okay, this skews a little bit differently, a little bit more conservatively. Continuing on, one of the fundamental questions, and this was an interesting one, because one of the things that we think is a unique opportunity for Brentwood is this concept of no tax increase, right? We can put a measure on the ballot and not increase people's taxes. As an old measure drops off, essentially this replaces it. So pretty good idea as far as I can generate a lot in proceeds, not as much as if I were to increase the tax rate, but I can generate a lot in proceeds and not increase taxes. So we tested it. We tested it two different ways. That's what the SSA you see at the top, that stands for split sample. So SSA means half the people got the A version of the survey. SSB on the next page will be half the people got the B version of the survey. And here we kind of, in a legalese way in terminology, included this thing about in the middle. If you can see where it says, shall Brentwood Union School District's no tax increase measure be adopted, and then it kind of explains things. So in this particular sampling, we had 49% yes. We're looking for 55. So this is one of the first kind of, don't like to see that. The next question on the next slide, we said, let's just ask it without putting in that kind of language. And the results were stronger. We were at 54%. For context, the survey from November, we were at 65%. So a pretty significant erosion of support, even if you go off of the more generous, right? Almost a 10 to 15% drop in levels of support on the question of, if an election were held today, would you vote yes? Okay. Now we wanted to continue again, compare and contrast, and this is where we stopped. This is where we saw, I would say, some of the biggest sensitivities is when we delved into tax rates themselves. Because up until now, there's this consensus of, I like the district, I like the schools, you do a good job, I like Brentwood, bond tax, no thank you, right? We ask it in both measures. Now we say, well, let's talk about the taxes itself. What if, and on slide 10, if we can go to the next slide, what if the tax rate was $30 per 100,000? And you can see in red, not a lot of support. In green, quite a bit of opposition. All right, what if we lowered it to 24? What if we lowered it to 19? In none of those scenarios is there an appetite to pursue a new tax.
Were those asked in sequence, the first amount, then the second, then the third? Would that have an impact on being more cooperative in you can?
Well, yeah, the idea is, okay, can I tempt you with a lower tax? You said no to the first group. How about 24? Or you said no to that. How about 19, right? Everyone has a price point.
To start with, do you think it would have been a different number? Would you accept 19?
No, I think people are going to just generally be honest with you. Okay. So whether it's, whatever you started, we could have started at 100 and ended at 19. And I still think people would think, I'm not willing to pay 19 at this point. Okay. So this was a pretty stark contrast. And then the next slide, we do the same again, split sample, but do it on a monthly. Does that change? You get a little bit more support when you do it on the monthly. But again, we're kind of trying to get to this 55%. You know, can we get to a point where there's that support there? So monthly, annually, new tax, big red light from voters. Now, slide 12, though, is where we wanted to introduce the concept and really kind of go through some level of explanation. And it's interesting. This is probably the 8th or 9th or 10th time that we've tested this in the last 2 years. And when we do these split sample, and you can read the language, proposed tax or the proposed measure won't increase the tax rate property owners are currently paying. And then we talk about a little bit of a definition in SSB. Without fail, even when we explain good news of a district in Rockland, and not only would they have a no tax increase, the tax rate goes down. They go from 85 to 60. And we asked the same question and said, the tax measure won't increase what you're paying. The tax measure won't increase what you're paying. In fact, it'll even go down because the taxes you're paying go off the books and it's going to be replaced by a lower amount. The latter is a much better message. And yet, without fail, just the simple message of this won't increase my taxes, that's all I need to hear, gets better levels of support. So interesting that we see something similar here, that simple language, 67% support, a little bit more detail, 53% levels of support. But obviously that's a big element to the program, is the idea of no tax increase. In fact, would be a critical element of any program.
John, can I just for context here, in transparency, right? One of the challenges with this message, obviously, right, is that sort of like, and tell me if this is the same, is when we passed Measure B, right, we said it's going to be a $28, that's our estimate of what's going to be $28 per $100,000, even though you can go up to 30. The challenge with that is if assessed valuation were to go down or we weren't to hit our targets and they needed to collect the taxes, they could raise it up to 30, even though our promise to the voters had been 28 per $100,000. The same thing is true here, right? Is our promise, this would be a promise to the voters that it wouldn't go up, right? But there's also a chance, because you're passing a bond, that it could go up higher than what it was, right? That's a possibility.
Correct. Yeah, and candidly, I never like using the word promise because we can't keep a promise that's beyond our control. But the estimates provided to taxpayers during an election, a lot of people consider them promise. Oh, you promised, you told me this, et cetera, et cetera. But yeah, something could happen and the tax rates could go up. Something could happen and the tax rates could go down. Our job as a financial advisor is to look at your assessed value, which is all your tax base, determine what we think is a conservative but reasonable program so that it could absorb some bad years in tax growth and is likely to result in a no tax increase scenario for the district. Yeah.
So, and that's the nuance of the sale there, right, is going forward, is being able to communicate that out too.
Yes.
Right.
And then the last question in the survey really is this one. Now that you've heard more information, and we were explicit because I think, we learned there's tax sensitivities. There was tax sensitivities back in November, but there's more tax sensitivities now. And we learned we've got to be direct but simple. And so we asked the question in this way, that now that you've heard more information and that there will be no tax rate increase, if the election were held today, would you vote yes or no? And so here the result is 62% or 61.7. Our post-election survey from November was 63.5, right? But we didn't explicitly say no tax increase because at that point in time we were still figuring out what made the most sense. But 34% no and 61% yes, with the balance being undecided. So it's an interesting situation. The conclusions, I think, more or less summarize kind of what I've said, but essentially people like the district. They like the idea of supporting the schools. they're very sensitive to taxes and definitely sensitive to new taxes. So even though that 75 words that we started with, they were still a little bit like, oh, wait, that's a tax. And so it took some education to say, no tax increase. In fact, let me ask it another question. If this was on the ballot and there was no tax increase, would you vote for it? So where does that place you today? That puts us in a position really where there is kind of a contingency recommendation, which is to say, do I think a measure would be successful here? The answer is yes, if we can do a great job of educating people and having them know it's a no tax increase. This isn't going to increase your tax rates. If not, then unless there's a seismic change to the economy and what's going on in Iran and gas prices and that sort of thing, if not, I think we end up similar to the 75-word pre-benchmark questions that got the 49 and the 54, 53%. So there is like I say, I don't want to say asterisk, but kind of a contingent element to this recommendation, which is, hey, yeah, we're confident we can get that message out. If everybody knows no tax increase, I think you've got a good shot. If there's concerns that I don't know how we're going to do, I don't know how we can mount the campaign, I'm nervous about other things, then that should be under consideration as well.
And the information about no tax increase can only be provided pre-election with us educating the public, or is that something that would go on the ballot description?
That would be something that 75 words that had kind of the no tax increase measure, hyphen, for better or for worse, that's bond counsel's very strong opinion of the language that would need to be used. Okay. I don't like it as much as I think more simple layperson's terms, but that might be the way to represent it in the 75-word ballot language. But the tax rate statement, which is part of your resolution in front of you this evening, says we have no intention of increasing the tax rate. The resolution says our plan is to not increase the tax rate, and this is how it works, right? You've got more flexibility and words, frankly, than the 75-word limit in explaining it. The district can go and speak to Chamber, Kiwanis, everybody, and explain this is how it's going to be. The campaign committee can beat that drum over and over and over, but both of those exercises, district messaging and campaign committee, take effort, they take money, they take time. And so that's part of this discussion in front of you.
Can you explain how it would work with no tax increase for the general public then?
Yeah. So the district has passed a couple of bonds in its history, going back to the late 90s. And so each bond is basically like a home mortgage, right? And then the one from the late 90s is set to drop off. So as that gets ready to drop off, the idea is to say, hey, we still have significant needs. Boy, we're fortunate enough that we can, instead of letting the tax rate drop off, replace that old late 90s bond with the new 2026 bond with a similar tax rate. So we're using basically the payments that had been made for years and years and years and saying, let's just extend that term. Let's just do that again.
And how much would that generate if we decided to go that way?
About $122 million.
Oh, so it would stay the same in regards to whether we're selling it at $19 a month or whatever.
Well, yeah, I mean, the earlier bonds that we were testing, I thought were up in the 140 million range, but the 122 is what we feel like is, again, conservatively reasonable.
And what if
for the
the
purpose
assessed
of-
valuation went down?
Went down just in general?
Yeah.
Then the tax rate would go down. So the way,
Would go down or go up?
I'm sorry, the tax rate would go up. There's an inverse relationship with assessed value and tax rates. So your district has actually been a big beneficiary, and I don't know if anyone knows what the old tax rates were, but if you were to go back in time and you were to add up what the original expected tax rates were, it would be X number of dollars. What actually has happened is you're paying Y lower. Why? Why is that? That's because your assessed value has had fantastic growth for 20 to 30 years because Brentwood has grown. So those programs have exceeded the projections that went into the original bond program. Our original bond program assumes 4% growth, I think, long-term. Your 10-year, 15-year, 20, 30-year growth has been much higher than that, but we can't just assume Brentwood's always going to grow. So as a conservative assumption, we assume 4. If we grow at less than 4, tax rate goes up. If we grow at greater than 4, tax rate goes down. So you want to be accurate but conservative in my experience.
So what's the tax rate that's going to fall off? The 96 one?
What's the amount of it?
Yeah,
I would have to
I'm
look
sorry.
that up. That's okay. It's a good question.
What is
Unless-
it, to John, while you're looking it up, what is the date that that's going to fall off, if you remember?
Yeah, let me look into that. Maybe you have it, Diane. here.
I just don't want to get to the point where we're saying there's no tax increase, but then somebody does the math and go, wait a minute, there's $8 and you're saying nothing. You know?
Yeah. There's always if the assessed valuation drops, right, it's not just that the tax rate could go up. The other possibility is we wouldn't be able to sell the bonds. Like that's the other piece
Right.
that could happen, right, is we wouldn't have the assessed valuation
Well,
go
would it also have an impact that Brentwood is about built out, and if you stop building, your assessed valuation may not go up as much?
Right. Part of our assessed valuation has grown so dramatically over the years because it's not only the increase in the housing values that are existing, it's adding the new housing that's coming in to that as well. And so at some point, Brentwood will just get to the point where it's just the existing houses that are going up in value, and that's your AV growth, right?
Yeah, so interesting. There's actually 2 bond programs dropping off. The 1997's last payment is August 1 of 2026. Okay, so we get to pick up a little bit of that. Then you have the 2003 election that drops off in August 2031. Once that drops off, we get to pick up some of that as well. So right now, the 1997, there's only, and again, these are according to our projections, have a $1.40 tax rate to repay the last of the 1997. I can promise you, nobody back in 1997 assumed you would only pay $1.40. That's that benefit of the taxpayers, like, hey, we're paying a lot less than what we thought we should have. Same is true in 2003. The next, and I'm going to give you the dollar tax rates as opposed to the total dollar amounts as far as debt service. But the dollar tax rates are $15.70, $17.53. This is $17.24, $7.21, $3.27, and finally $3.16 on that August 31 payment. Again, no one contemplated the massive growth that you had. 2015 and 16 alone was 18.3 and 12% growth to your tax base. But we don't want to assume that because we're not going to have the go-go days anymore, or at least we don't want to count on it. So we're assuming in our program actually 4.25% long-term growth. So does that make sense? So as these old bonds go off, we replace them with this 2026 if approved, and that's how you're able to generate all these dollars without increasing tax rates.
So board, tonight you have 2 items, right? You have 10.3, which is the review of the tracking results, which is what John's sharing now. And then your consideration of this item is 10.4, which would be if you did decide to go forward, you would be required to pass at a supermajority, which is at least 4 members, resolution that's there because the election would need to be called relatively soon. We have I know we have 3 people up for election, just like candidates, right? It would be that time that we would have to pull it.
Now, is that something that we would have to get approved to be able to put, then there'd be no tax increase, or is that something that you're pretty sure that they would allow us in the the verbiage?
That's what's currently, so the next agenda item that you have is the resolution that, if approved, is submitted to the county registrar and includes all of the information relative to our bond program. So the types of projects, right? We're going to build a new school, a new elementary school with this money. We're going to modernize and upgrade and renovate our really old schools with this money. Here's what the tax rate is expected to be. We're counting on some state aid. So as you vote on this, voter, just know that we're relying on some state aid to get this money. And we intend to not have a tax increase with this bond program. So all of that gets shared and submitted to the county. They post what we put in there as far as our own language. And then they have what's called an impartial analysis by county council. And their county council looks at it, explains what a bond is, et cetera, et cetera. Maybe they go so far as to explain the no tax increase, which we've already explained in some of our documentation. But that would be ultimately what makes it into a sample ballot so that voters can evaluate it.
I mean, we're kind of, like you said, the things have changed just because of Iran, and it's tough times for everybody now. But the other thing that we have to consider also is we're also going against our Liberty Union in regards to their possible bond measure too. Unfortunately, I don't think a lot of the people in the city don't realize that we're totally separate. So I think that could be a factor too. And they're proposing two separate ones, as far as I know.
I've heard of one. Oakley did two at the last election.
All right.
So what would be the, what's, that wasn't major in here, so I mean, so what's, from your experience, what's the impact of Liberty going out there? We're going out at the same time.
I'll be honest, we've had a lot of measures that have had to share the ballot with another school district, whether it's high school and an elementary, unified and a community college district. In my experience, it's pretty negligible. In some respects, you have a lot of messaging out there about support schools, and it may not even be your messaging, but that's the messaging that goes out. For example, statewide school bonds, come out every 6-8 years. There's a statewide school bond on the ballot in the state of California. And people say, is it better to avoid it or beyond the same? Well, there's enough data, right? We've got 30 plus years of data of statewide school bonds and elementary, high school and unified school bonds on the same ballot. And school district bonds do better with a statewide school bond measure on the same ballot than worse. So I'm not overly concerned with that when we typically ask questions. If you had to choose, because sometimes we test those in surveys, elementaries almost always do better.
Elementary what?
They almost always do better. The kids are cuter, let's be honest. I mean, I have 4 adult kids, and there's nothing compared to, a cute little third grader or something. So, yeah, I wouldn't, unless there was something egregious about their particular measure, but I haven't heard anything, that wouldn't dissuade me. That alone wouldn't dissuade me.
That's why you're the expert.
Well, looking at the housing market is flattened a little bit right now. I like your term sensitive to tax measures because I feel there is an overwhelming support of the schools, but there's also an overwhelming concern about expenses and those kinds of things, and interest rates just went up again. On the other hand, we're growing and we're about to reach capacity, and so the timing would be better to do it now than delay in that sense, and we would have the need for the additional students that are going to come in with the impact of those developments that are approved, like over by Costco in that area there. So it's a struggle to come up with money that we really need and then still be sensitive to our community that is very sensitive about taxes.
you've always been supported well, by the community in these things. What's the consequence of not succeeding in this bond issue and then going back out in 2 years as compared to say, okay, so if you don't go out at all, we can go at it in 2 years without really knowing the environment in 2 years, or we can go for it now, and if we fail at it, we go out again in 2 years. What's in terms of voters, how much memory does voters have? What attitude gets created when you fail? That kind of thing.
Yeah, I think it depends on how a failure happens. Did you fail because people just felt like this just isn't the right time and I'm sensitive to tax rates? Or did you fail because there was a scandal or something else came up that caused people to vote no? Voters' memories are pretty short. So initially when you said, what's the consequence? I was thinking, well, that means the school doesn't get built. That means your facilities don't get modernized. That means everything costs more. But if you're just speaking strictly through the lens of politically, does this damage my chances for going in November of 2020, I guess 8? In my experience, no. I mean, again, going off of the short memories, if it's just you get 52%, 53%, 54%, and people just weren't ready because gas was $6-7 a gallon. You hope that gas goes down in 2 years. But in my experience, there's been a lot of districts go and then come back a couple of years later and they're successful. I mean, the district that I'm in, San Ramon Valley Unified, they tried a partial tax, they lost, and 6 months later they put it back on and they were successful. So that was a no tax increase. The first one was a tax increase and was unsuccessful. So I think voters have a pretty short memory, and I think they'll give you the benefit of the doubt in my experience. But I do want to underscore again that the most important thing in this presentation is to say we have to have a belief that we can communicate this is not going to increase taxes, because they're very sensitive to taxes right now. So no tax increase, I like it. But how do we ensure that all those voters get that message? If we feel like we can convey that message, then I like our chances.
Did you in any way separate the senior communities of Somerset and Trilogy versus the general community of the school district?
You're saying, can you?
Can you? Yes, well.
Well, from a survey, yeah, you could. You could, and from a bond program, they have
In general, your experience tells you what?
Well, I think, again, I'll bring up San Ramon Valley again. I talked to a bunch of senior citizens at a luncheon, and I said, hey, the district's thinking about doing this, more taxes. I said, no, but it's not going to increase your taxes. Are you sure? Yeah, I'm positive. Or the financial advisor. Oh, in that case, okay. Right? I mean, it was that simple. I like schools, but boy, I just don't want to pay any more in taxes. So that has to be an important message. To the point of, can you exclude, there actually is a program that allows a district to carve out whatever it wants and creates what's known as a school facilities improvement district, where you just say, oh, I'm going to cut the district in half. You guys vote on one, you vote on the other, or I'm going to carve out this area that's paying on a CFD.
Is that kind of like
You could do that.
Melrose School?
Almost at the reverse of it. Yeah. I mean, it's almost like everybody but the Melrose oftentimes. But River Delta, we literally just split the community in half. It's Hatfields and McCoy's. Like, you guys vote on yours, you vote on yours, and they're both, yeah, we approved it. But they didn't want to give each other their monies. So, but that's another.
Okay, so are we moving in kind of into 10.4 right now? Okay, so my learning out of this whole thing is just what you summarized is that, okay, we've got a shot at it. It's going to be hard. We've got a shot at it though, and if we win, that's good. If we lose, well, we can always come back in a couple of years. But the benefits of going after it now, I originally was not thinking about the possibilities of this, but if we look at it, it's you don't win them all. But one thing you have to keep doing is just keep playing the game. So I'm kind of leaning toward. I'm not even leaning. I would be support of this.
I'm ready to make a motion if you want to take one.
Okay, all those in favor?
Well, you gotta make a motion first.
Well, it's not an action item, it's informal.
10-4 is the action item, so we have to move on to that one.
Oh, okay, I see what you're saying.
So I will make a motion that we approve Resolution 2026-22, item 10.4, and move forward with the bond measure for the November ballot.
I'll second.
It's moved in second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Reluctantly,
I'm sorry.
5-0.
Well, you're gonna have to do it because I don't know. All four?
Yep.
All right. You guys are game, I'm game. 5-0. What do we got to lose? I agree. I'll be honest with you, prior to talking with you and reassuring with the no tax increase, I was a definite no prior to this, so.
I was close. So
I think it was 3-2 until you started talking.
Okay,
So
so for
you-
better or for worse. And you know what? I've
That's a good
underscored
attitude.
it 6 times. We just need to get that message out, and I think people will respond to it. Okay.
You did a good job, though.
thanks, John.
Thank you, John.
All righty. Approval of the BUSD Facilities Master Plan.
This was brought to the board at
Oh,
the,
is your thing working?
no,
Oh.
I don't think so. This was brought to the board at the previous. Yes, this item there.
He needs his.
This item was brought to the board in the June 17th, 2026 meeting for information only. And as we stated at that time, it's being brought back as an action item for the board's consideration.
And like Diane said, this is an action item, so I will take a motion in a second.
One move we approve item 10.5, the facilities master plan.
I'll second.
Been moved and seconded. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
Aye.
5-0. 10.6 is an informational item. It's our enrollment update.
Thank you, guys.
400.
Thank you, John.
Take care.
Thanks, John.
Enjoy your cruise.
All right.
All righty.
All right, well, hello, everyone, again. I am here to give you an enrollment update. I put information into the packet, but it has changed because enrollment changes daily right now. We've enrolled 16 children just today. So, yes, we need that money. Absolutely. Okay, so what I'm going to share with you. Thanks, Carrie. First item I have for you is the updated information that's in what was in your packet, of course, has changed. So our current count of students in our district as of today is 10,007 students. So what's different about what was in your packet is that that's 7 less than what we had last week because we've been getting calls from people where they have either, moved out of the area or there's some shifts and changes. So that's not quite as many as we had last week. But we are keeping track of every single child and appreciate all the hard work of our secretaries and our staff. The school office is open today, so we've had a lot of information just today. So, but that is, we have 400 kids less. That's lower enrollment than we had in June. So we're keeping track of what that means for us and making sure that we have a space for every student that does walk through our doors. We had 86 kids that enrolled from summer enrollment. That is from June 10th to July 10th here at our district office. We were very busy. We had full a schedule every single day. And what's interesting on here is that I was just keeping track of the numbers of grade levels. TK and K were our biggest hits, and 7th grade and 4th grade. So just curious about who was coming in through our doors in summer. And then now they're all enrolling at their school sites. So, and then as I shared when I put this out too, in the board packet. We closed a 5th grade classroom and opened a 6th grade classroom last week. So thank you to my enrollment team of Carrie and Diane and Janelle and Sarah and Teresa Pecorini. They were so wonderful. And then, of course, Edna Hill. And where did we close it? Pioneer. Thank you. We're very gracious with that change, and we're watching our TK growth. So I will send out now. This is our current, sorry, Carrie, can you, Michael already has his. He's our last. Oh, would you like one, Robert?
Sure.
Okay, there'll be more. Okay, there's plenty, but sorry about that. So we currently have 17 spots in TK. Those numbers are changing every day since, as I've shared, we are going through a trend where our TK and our K are coming in really strong. So we'll keep an eye on that and have more discussion for you, probably by next board meeting. We'll see where we head with that. But those TK numbers are moving quickly. So everybody wants their TKer to be in school, which is fantastic. We really want to definitely educate those kiddos. But when you look at that document, remember that top part there is every student in our district. So you see that that's the actual enrollment of every single school site over there on the right. And then we put on the very right, like with PS is preschool. So that just is how many students would be at IME if the preschool was included. And so the total, the 9936 is students without the preschool, and then the 10,007 is with preschool. We include them because they are part of our school district. Of course, we don't get ADA for the preschoolers. So Diane doesn't necessarily always count that in her overall amount for ADA, but we count them because they, of course, are part of our school district. And then we have in the middle there our SDC numbers for every single school. And then the lower number is how much room we still have open at every single school site. So that's what we're keeping track of. At the very bottom is the space where it has it kind of highlighted there or outlined. And that's the TK, there's 17 spots, K 37. So that's as you go along, you'll see that space. And when we get below 2% is when we start to get more concerned about, okay, do we need to look at opening classroom? Doesn't necessarily track with TK because of the ratio of 24. And then 10-1 is what we really need to keep track of, having an adult to a student ratio there. So those are our current numbers. Any questions about our enrollment?
No, thank you very much.
Okay.
Diane, what was our projections for the budget though for the enrollment?
So 9900, 9,900, and today we're 9,936.
No, I meant as far as what we thought it was going to be.
That's what we've projected in the adopted budget.
Oh,
So-
where we thought.
So as of today, we're 36 students more than we projected.
And when do we have to give that final number?
It's the first Wednesday in October.
So
Whatever our enrollment is, the first Wednesday in October, or as in our case, it's our last school day before, fall break. That will be our certified enrollment number by the state for funding.
We tend to drop right in so whatever will grow a little bit, and then we'll drop that first day of school where we have kids that don't show up and haven't let us know, and then we tend to grow a little bit till October. So we're probably trending right.
But we ended at 10-4.
Yeah. So, and one of the things that's always been true in this district is if you look at the total, if you look at this big chart and you look at the total of the 8th graders, right, you see 1,233 8th graders. And then you see we have, 585 TKers or 811 kindergartens.
Right.
We are a district that grows in every grade pretty much, which means that we have to grow to make up the delta between how many 8th graders that we have and the fewer kids that are coming in K in addition to maintain. And so it is significant for us to be down. This is a new thing for Brentwood for us not to be meeting. Yes, and we're not getting as many younger kids. So that's what we're seeing. So, but we are potentially entering into our period of declining enrollment.
Just nothing. I mean, where did the 400 kids go?
So, right, so, yeah, they graduated, they promoted, so 1,200 kids promoted, and right now we have 585 coming into TK, right? So there's a big difference between the number of kids that leave us and then the new kids that come in.
Middle school principal, you're happy? All righty, thank you. We are on 10.7, the BTA initial sunshine proposal with Brentwood Union School District. This is information item.
Yes, so government code requires that all initial proposals of representative groups within the scope of representation be presented at a public meeting. And so in preparation for upcoming 26-27 negotiations with BTA and in accordance with that government code, what you have attached in your packet tonight is BTA's public presentation of their initial proposals to our district for their reopener contract.
Again, like I said, that was only an information item. Anybody have any questions in regards to it? All righty. 10.9 is the approval of speech language pathology waiver.
10-8.
I knew that. 10.8, it's the Brentwood Union School District initial sunshine proposal for reopener negotiations with the PTA, and this is an action item. I apologize that I'm skipping.
Yes, so this is the district's sunshine proposal, which is an action item for the board tonight, giving basically authority for the negotiator, the lead negotiator for the district, to bargain on behalf of the school board. And this year for reopener proposals, the district is sunshining Article 7, grievance procedures, Article 8, salary provisions, Article 9, health and welfare benefits, and any related appendices.
Okay. I will take a motion in regards to 10.8.
Move that we approve item 10.8, the BUSD initial sunshine proposal for reopener negotiations with the BTA.
I'll second.
We have a proposal and a second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? 5-0. This one is 10.9, approval of speech language pathology waiver.
Yes, so as you know, statewide, hiring speech and language pathologists tends to be challenging, and the district has usually always openings for speech and language pathologists to fill vacancies with currently fully credentialed candidates. This particular candidate has been hired as an SLP for the 26-27 school year, and she's basically waiting for her degree conferral letter to transfer from an out-of-state program. So in order for her to begin with our district and be appropriately credentialed, this waiver requests the approval for her to work under the waiver while she gets that degree conferral.
I move that we approve item 10.9, the waiver for the speech language pathologist.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. All those in favor of approving 10.9, a speech language pathology waiver?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? 5-0. 10.10, another action item. This one's an approval of the Spanish curriculum adoption with a word that I'll let you.
Thank you, Mr.
I believe this was our hearing that we opened and closed earlier, so if nobody has anything to add on that, I move that we approve item 1010, the approval of Encuentros Spanish curriculum adoption.
I'll second it.
We have a motion and a second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? And that's been approved. This one here is a 1011 approval of resolution 2026-23, which is a resolution approving Brentwood Union School District's updated conflict of interest code.
Yeah,
This was sent to us
yeah,
via email.
county council has recommended changes there that are
Yep. It is an action item.
Yeah, I move we approve item 10.11.
Second.
Motion and second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? 5-0. We have 1012, which is the first reading of Board Policy Administration Regulation Exhibit. And this is an information item.
Just a few changes there. So lots of legislative and recommended changes that are there. Happy to talk about any of them. Most of them are just
A
general
lot of
updates.
are just in there just to update all these policies to
Yes,
beat the one thing they want to change.
yes, that's right.
Yeah.
And Nicole's been doing a great job keeping up on those.
Very nice. And like I said, this was an information item. Board member comment, any future agenda items? The only thing I would request is going back to the crossing guards, if you can get us some figures and, I mean, I know
Will
the
do.
figure is there, but any type suggestions from people, cabinet or whatever to how to proceed, or maybe we can figure out if a couple of us want to approach the city or the council or something.
Sure, I'll be happy to get those figures to you. Nobody leave because there's a whole bunch of stuff for you to sign.
Okay. With that being said, I'll have a motion to close.
Motion to adjourn.
Second.
All those in favor of going home?
Aye.